Welcome to the Combot Collective.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Combot Collective, bringing you everything you want to know about the 2021 Battlebots season. It's another prediction episode here, and I am here as always, your host SterlingBrown, also known online as Courier300, former writer at Third Law Sports, current host of King of Draft, and current Battlebots subreddit moderator. It's another week of robot combat here. It's a very exciting main event, one of the most exciting main events we've had in recent memory. And something that we've built up to inadvertently here with the TCC10, having both Endgame and SawBlaze set at number one. But we also have some other very interesting matchups coming up here. Matches like Malice sitting at 0-2, trying to keep Blacksmith out of playoff contention at 1-1. A handful of 1-0 versus 1-1 matchups in our number 2, 3, and Midway Major setups. In fact, our Midway Major also very interesting, having Hydra versus Glitch, and of course the Ribot Games rematch, a matchup between two very well-known teams in the non-televised era. Free shipping versus Tombstone. All that and more we're going to be getting into on our TCC Battlebots Week 8 prediction video here. I'm only going to be joined by PoryNog this week, Mr. Redman having some other commitments, unfortunately, but me and Pory carrying the load here. As let's not waste too much time and jump into the episode here. But first, of course, if you're liking what we have here, please follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, and please join our Discord community. That's where you can find episode updates the fastest. That's where you can get TCC news the quickest. That's probably the best place for anything, really. Check out our Linktree to get all of that. And now let's jump into the episode. As we open up Week 8, Episode 8 of the regular season here, we have a very interesting Round 1 matchup between West Coast and East Coast here. It is Blacksmith coming in at 1-1 and pretty much already eliminated from playoff contention Malice, entering at 0-2. I know the team already said on Instagram that they believe that they are eliminated from playoff contention, and they might know better than me, but I feel like Malice might be one of those robots that may have enough fanfare to get in. They didn't look terrible in their last two fights. They put up a fight against both Tantrum and Jackpot, a high schedule. But it's definitely not too hot for them. They're trying to play spoiler here against Blacksmith, coming in red hot with the brand new power hammer, the hammer saw flamethrower hybrid that they've been using all season so far, of course. Really looked really good against free shipping, landed plenty of hits in the judge's decision, but ended up faltering in a matchup against Blacksmith. So, not Blacksmith, against Shatter with their brand new, very special, their own new weapon. It's going to be interesting to see how this matches up. Of course, these two teams have not met, but they're both fairly active on the live circuit. At least Blacksmith's team used to be with Team Half-Assed Astronaut. Malice, of course, one of the most successful teams on the West Coast. Plenty of championships of small bots classes. 1-1 versus 0-2 here, Pory. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think that this could go either way, really, but I am probably leaning towards Blacksmith on this just because Blacksmith is very tanky, design that I personally would not want to face up against with a horizontal spinner. There's not much Malice could really do. They got to drive this perfectly and attack the sides and do whatever they can to win. But even then, it's gonna be a tough one for them.
Yeah, it's a big uphill battle. They haven't really been given the toughest, the fairest of opponents here in terms of what they can do with the horizontal spinner. Tantrum, of course, one of the most compact, sturdy robots in the competition. Jackpot running their very effective plow configuration, and we've seen in the fight preview footage for this fight, I believe it has been posted, Blacksmith running their own sort of tanky front setup. They have a plow that kind of takes away the front wedge of Blacksmith, but leaves it completely open to take any hard hit from Malice. And Malice is certainly about to deliver. We've seen Rolling Blackout be a very strong weapon, but a weapon that hasn't been able to have as much bite as past Malice weapons. I don't know if that's the weapon's fault or just the strength of the schedule, various opponents, or maybe just this version of Malice. Who knows? But I have to go with Blacksmith here for this one. Malice has a nice and lovely flat top, which is just what these hack bots, hammer saws love to fight. And I think Malice is going to get pretty chewed up pretty badly here by Blacksmith's power hammer. But I do think it's going to go to 3 minutes. I think it's going to be fairly one-sided in terms of what the judge's decision will be. I think Blacksmith's going to tank the impacts and land a bunch of top strikes, but I don't think Mouse is going to land anything too substantial to give it. The judge is not here. And next up, it's an interesting one. We have a round 2 matchup against a round 3 matchup here. It's Claw Viper versus Black Dragon, and Black Dragon, of course, 1-1, just came off its recent hard fought, but unfortunately a loss against Rotator. One of the most exciting fights we've had so far this season. A good bit of back and forth. Black Dragon showed its tankiness and durability again in the matchup. I saw it take a few pretty hefty gashes in its front plow, but it stays tight here. Probably won't have to worry about anything like that against a bot like Claw Viper, who of course is coming in 1-0 with one YouTube victory fairly early on in the season against Pardon My French, another rookie here. Pardon My French ended up just being a bit of a target practice for Claw Viper. Got its way against the new French-Canadian bot fairly easily. Suplexed it a couple times, and that was that pretty much. Also spiked Zoot, which was a very fantastic thing to see. Claw Viper as a whole, one of the most aggressive, easily the fastest robot in the competition, and in my opinion, one of the most improved robots, period. We've seen now 2022 and 2021. I talked about it a little bit in the recent Robots Live breakdown video I did when I was bringing up some of the most improved robots, bringing up robots like Apocalypse and things in that video, but Claw Viper really does stand out with how well they've been able to hone into driving. This is going to be a unique matchup, though. I think this is going to decide a lot for Claw Viper, and it's really going to decide a lot for Black Dragon. This is a make-or-break matchup. I think they might be safe at 1 and 2, but it's going to depend on the quality of this fight for sure. Pory, what are your thoughts on this matchup? We have the Viper and a Dragon here.
This one on paper looks one-sided. Like they definitely booked this thinking like, oh, Black Dragon will get an easy win and go 2-1. But I don't know if it's that black and white, because Claw Viper is, like you said, drastically improved. So it really depends how well Claw Viper drives this. Because, I mean, they're definitely the much faster robot. So, I mean, if Claw Viper drives this fight right, they could win it. Like, you know, drive it to the back of Black Dragon, take it to Suplex City, all that. I'm not sure who I'm going to predict on it yet. I'll probably figure that out later today. I might predict Claw Viper just because if Claw Viper wins, I can gloat to green. But yeah, this should be an interesting fight. It should at least be a better fight than their meetup last season.
Right, it was forgetful. I honestly forgot it was even a fight when they announced this one. It took me a minute to realize that this was, in fact, a rematch. And yeah, I forgot it just now. This is a rematch from last year. We've had a few rematches so far this year from exhibitions or bounty competitions. But no, this is a popular regular season 2020 matchup that we're now having again. Claw Viper, of course, has evolved a lot, of course, since then. New square design, complete rebuild of the robot. And what we've seen, we saw it a lot in Robot Ruckus. This robot is very honed in, very lined up, ready to go for a fight like this. I do have some worries about Black Dragon being a bit too compact. That maybe it's not going to be like... And yeah, part of my French was fairly compact, but it also was sitting pretty much still for Claw Viper to throw around. Black Dragon's not going to sit still. No matter how many times it gets thrown, slammed, or suplexed, it's probably going to keep going. Uriah always builds a super compact, super sturdy, super reliable, robust robot. And Black Dragon's going to keep landing impact after impact. And I think that's going to be the big intangible for me. This is just going to be one of those, damn, it's just going to weigh it out in the end fights. I think Black Dragon's going to end up winning. Probably a decision on Claw Viper. We haven't really seen Claw Viper be tested too much in terms of durability. This version of Claw Viper, we've seen the fight bots like Slammo, Pardon My French, Big Deal, but nothing with a real proper spinner. So this is going to be a big test for it. I gotta go. I think I do have to go Black Dragon, and not just because it's on the King of Draft team, and not just because I traded off Claw Viper and I kind of regret it. But I digress. I have to go with Black Dragon here. So now move on to our third fight on the card. Now moving on to fight 3 here. It's another unique one, another 1-0 versus 1-1. I know a lot of people were wanting to see Smee get ripped in half in that last fairly underwhelming fight of Deep 6 versus Smee, but I think we might get what we want here. It's Gigabyte versus Smee. It's a battle of two teams that were actually at Kingabots 2, an event I've been talking about a good bit recently here. Of course, Smee with Button Lee then. Button Lee was apparently at Battlebots this year, but I think only just in the pits. It's Smee versus Gigabyte here. Of course, Smee 1-0 with a very awkward win against Deep 6, but a deserved win, as we did figure out there was a ripped off wheel during that fight. Gigabyte, meanwhile, a bit more of a tumultuous year. Fought uppercut in the very second fight of the season, got its ass absolutely handed to it. And then Gigabyte won their Beyblade battle against Shrederator, Captain Shrederator, in what was a fairly underwhelming but very hyped up matchup. They're now sitting at 1-1 with a fairly respectable schedule here, but this fight is going to be absolutely make or break for them. Gigabyte, they have to win this fight, absolutely. And it's going to be tricky to lose this fight. Smee, very wide, very slow, but surprisingly well driven, and we don't exactly know how well those wedges can take a horizontal spinner strike from Gigabyte. We know they have been fairly durable in the past, surviving impacts from bots like Mammoth and Pain Train, and never got tested against Deep Six, but the wedge did its job, managed to out wedge Deep Six. So it's been a fairly solid robot this year in its only fight, sitting at 1-0. So if it loses here with a valiant effort, they still have a shot at playoff glory potentially. But big story for Gigabyte here. This is make or break. It's going to be tricky for them to lose this, but it is Battlebots, and with the upper deck in the arena, this might be a very unique matchup, especially with the corner corrals. What are your thoughts on this, Pory? This is a weird one.
I want me to win it so bad.
I can't say that. No.
I want him to win. I want Smee to win.
I like Gigabyte too much. Smee has another chance.
I like Gigabyte too, but Smee is going all the way.
Well, I thought Ribot or Deadlift was.
Well, Ribot and Deadlift are going to be finalists. Smee's going to be a semi-finalist. But, Smee's... But this is really just not a favorable matchup for them. But this is going to prove if they can, run with the big dogs, though, because this is the first, high-tier opponent it's faced, really. I mean, I guess Deep Six, but that wasn't much of a fight, really.
Yeah.
But this is, their first time putting that wedge to the test, because the only other times they fought, top 32 bots were against control bots, and, it beat Mammoth. It should have beaten Kraken. Would have beaten Gruff in round 3. But, it's really hard to say, because we've never seen a matchup like this before. Will Smee snap in half? Will the fact that Smee is all wedge
I hope so.
help it beat Gigabyte? I don't know. I'm thinking Gigabyte's gonna win this. I don't see how they wouldn't, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, Smee is definitely hasn't really been tested against a horizontal spinner. Everything I listed earlier, all vertical spinners. This is going to be, you can avoid a you can avoid a vertical spinner with a good wedge, and Smee has a surprisingly good wedge. Joe Fabiani, an incredibly good driver. We've seen that in Norwalk as well. But you can't avoid that with Gigabyte. Will be interesting to see. Maybe Smee has some mini bots, maybe some tricks up their sleeve. But I'm sure fight photos will end up surfacing here within the next couple of days. Probably by the time this video is out, in fact, might even be edited in here. But yeah, I just don't know how you're gonna break what Smee could do to Gigabyte besides corner it, hope that full body spinner breaks down. But Gigabyte has just been so reliable these past few seasons. When its weapon does break, it takes the most powerful of impacts, good slams from bots like Greedy Snake, or just vicious spinner strikes from bots like Huge or Uppercut have been the only thing that have been able to shut this bot down lately. And I think that's likely going to remain the case here. It's probably going to be Gigabyte. Smee's going to hold up pretty well with its wedge, but we're finally going to see that thing give in. I don't know if it's going to break in half. I would love to see it, but I guess the only time will tell as we now move on to our Midway Major here. And here is our Midway Major, an interesting one. This is 1-0 versus 1-1 yet again. Bit of a trend here I'm starting to notice. It is Glitch versus Hydra. And this is a fight we have seen footage of since pretty much before the season even began. Both these robots have been fairly open to sharing what this fight's been all about. We've seen pictures of Hydra absolutely yeeting Glitch, and we've seen pictures of Glitch absolutely knocking the crap out of Hydra. So who knows how this fight's going to end up. But it seems like there's going to be a good bit of airtime from both robots. In fact, two purple robots going in there, just going at it. Glitch 1-0 after a very weird win against Ghost Raptor. Ghost Raptor pretty much carrying it the whole way to its victory, whereas Hydra having to work a bit more for its 1-1 record. Had a really bad showing, of course, in the very first main event, all the way back in episode 1. Used Fusion's speed controller, which ended up being a bit of a mistake, something we end up seeing Last week as well, Fusion having some red hot issues, but we'll get to that in a different episode. Hydra just ended up burning out that first fight. Second fight looked a bit better, threw Gruff out of the arena, but that flipper power was just not there yet. Looks like that flipper power might just be there now. We're going to have to see. Hydra is likely safe for the playoffs regardless. Glitch still trying to make a case for itself. We're going to have to see how this one goes, Pory. What are your thoughts on this one?
This one could go either way. I don't know.
Seriously, yeah.
I feel most people are going to predict Hydra, but Glitch's weapon is scary. Like, Glitch might have had some gremlins in his first fight, but that weapon is nothing to be underestimated. And Hydra's a good robot. It's low to the ground. It's well driven. It's got a good flipper on it. But people act like Hydra is this unbeatable machine because of that. But it kind of, it can't really take hits from spinners very well. And people try to, walk on eggshells to defend that. Like me, when I have chats with like Oblivion Prime and Civilian Arc, whenever I mention Hydra's kind of fragile, they're like, no, it's not fragile. I'm like,
oh, it's super fragile.
The Witch Doctor?
Did you not see Witch Doctor? Did you not see Minotaur?
Like, and then they're like, it took hits from Uppercut. I'm like, Uppercut didn't even hit it. What are you talking? Like, I think it might have gotten like a little grazed.
Yeah.
But
and the most impressive display of defense it's ever had was Gigabyte, and even then, you could tell the effects of Gigabyte were very visible during the Whiplash fight.
But also, it had the beefy wedge. You can't use a beefy wedge against something like Glitch and expect it to work because Glitch is vertical.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to drive that perfectly. But if they get hit by Glitch's weapon, which we know that it does from that image that was teased, do we know that Hydra works after that hit? Is what I'm wondering. Because
seriously, yeah,
that's a big spinner. What is it, like 60 pounds or something? Like It's a beefy boy. It's a big thing. Like, I don't know if Hydra could survive that hit. At least not like completely. Like, it might be like crab walking around after that, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's okay, Hydra." But I'm gonna go Glitch on this, just because I like Hydra, but I admittedly don't have a lot of faith in the robot because there are definitely some glaring issues. But it could go either way. If Hydra wins, I won't be like shocked or anything.
Yeah, for me, it just comes down to the fact that Hydra has ever been the most athletic robot. It can zip around sometimes, but it is known for getting its front wedges or its skirt caught in the ground. That stuff can end up playing a bad factor. And a thing I don't see a lot of people in the community talking about with this fight, everyone's thinking about the two big hits that both Hydra and Glitch has, but nobody's thinking about the mobility of Glitch. Glitch has of course, they have the X-style Omni wheels, and I guess some less, like I said, a less athletic robot like Hydra. I feel like Glitch was going to be able to take advantage of that, be able to get around, start yapping and nipping away at the sides. And once Hydra's wedges and forks start getting bent up, it's really going to be a big issue for them. I think Hydra's going to put up a bit of a fight here, but, like you were saying, there was some issues with Glitch in round one, but round one gremlins are nothing uncommon in robot combat. We see them with pretty much every team, new and old. Just look at Hydra in round one. They were as big of a victim of round one gremlins as anyone. They've been able to pick it up a little bit in round two, but Jake Awer still didn't seem very satisfied. Hopefully, even in a losing effort by Hydra here, they can still get into the playoffs, and they probably will as long as they put up a really contested fight. And even if they don't, I have trouble seeing them counting them out, like I said. But that would be quite a huge story. I mean, people saying Tombstone going 1-2, a second year in a row would be a huge story. I think this would be insane, seeing Hydra, a robot known for being undefeated in the regular season and coming into the playoffs at 1-2, bottom 10 of the seeds or something like that. It's definitely the bottom half. But ultimately, I do think Hydra might be able to pull this one off in the end. We don't know how well Glitch is going to be able to take it and throw it onto their top as well. I believe that they said that they are invertible, though I'm not sure how well I buy that. I'm going to have to say Hydra's going to eke this one out, but Glitch definitely has a shot to take this. More of a shot, in fact. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this is a Glitch victory. I bet we're going to see both these robots in the playoffs, though, for sure. And here we go. This is a big one. Probably my most anticipated of the week. Well, I hope my RoboGames fans are in the house because we have a fight that Discovery has actually once shown before, going all the way back to 2011, Killer Robots on the Science Channel. It was Last Rites versus Original Sin at RoboGames 2011, and Last Rites ended up ripping Original Sin wheel for wheel for wheel for wheel in that fight, taking all 4 wheels off the most successful combat robot of all time. Might have even taken the wedge off. I think that ended up being one of Tombstone's last wins against Original Sin, because after that fight, they started using the yellow plow attachment. But they can't use an attachment here. It's finally another rematch between these two robot lineages. It's Tombstone versus Free Shipping. 1-1 versus 0-2. Free Shipping looking to put Tombstone potentially out of the playoffs. I doubt it because they love having Tombstone in the playoffs. But Gary Jin's going to play spoiler with the sister robot to the most successful robot ever, Original Sin. Free Shipping, always spectacular, beautiful flamethrower, looks great when it's getting exploded. Might have won that uppercut fight if it didn't knock itself up on the wall, but we've talked about that before already. It's taken on Tombstone, who has been has had one of the more interesting arcs this year, I would say, for robots. Lost one of the biggest upsets in Battlebots history, reboot history at least, against Captain Shrederator in round 1. Got knocked out by Captain Shrederator, had a huge internal fire. And then in the second fight, a bit of a controversial judge's decision here. Double knockout, Mammoth taking some huge strikes from Tombstone, while Tombstone apparently got locked up on the kill saws. Ended up going down as a double knockout, so both robots not looking terrible coming out of that one. But now Tombstone sits at a very awkward 1-1, with its only win being a fight where it got knocked out, while Free Shipping still hasn't really been knocked out. Got propped up on a wall a bit goofy, but it was still driving pretty much fine, taking those brutal uppercut hits. Where do you think this one's going to sit, Pory? Because this is going to be absolutely bombastic. Will we see Free Shipping explode again?
I don't think we'll see Free Shipping explode again, but have we seen pictures of this fight yet?
I don't think we have.
Because you say they can't use the plow. Why can't they use the plow is the question.
Well, just only because the plow that they used on Original Sin is like very shovel-like. If you've seen any footage of it, it's that big yellow shovelly plow, and I don't think that would work with the lifter on it. And I mean, I've never seen.
What they could do is they could run the lifter on the back or something, because the lifter goes 180
I see
degrees.
What you're saying.
So they could have the lifter on the back, and then they could just run the plow, because that would be the ideal.
Do like
solution.
A lockjaw kind of thing.
Yeah, like a lockjaw sort of deal. And then just like when Tombstone's weapon evidently breaks on the plow, use the lifter then. But it's an interesting. I'm happy this matchup's happening. I know on paper they definitely booked this thinking like, yeah, free win for Tombstone to guarantee the slot top 32. But like, Free Shipping could very well win this, because I mean, between the Original Sin Last Rites rivalry, I'm pretty sure Original Sin has more wins, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, by quite a bit.
By they have like 7 more wins or something. Like, it's a lot. Like, they're definitely ahead in that. So they could absolutely do this, especially since Tombstone's been having teething trouble since it's been redesigned this year, and it's gonna be a tough matchup for them for sure. But I think Free Shipping could do it, to be honest, and that's who I'm going to go for. Also, interesting thing to note, this is the first time Tombstone in the Fight Night format has not had a main event or a Midway Major.
It had a Midway Major in the opener. One versus Shrederator?
What?
The Shrederator
no, this is the first time that it wasn't a Midway Major.
I see what you're saying now. That's true.
Like,
it's
every fight
Tombstone randomly thrown on the card.
It's just Tombstone, like, that's never happened. He was Midway Major for the last 2 fights, and then every fight before that, he was usually main event, and he hasn't had a single main event.
And in general, this is the first time that Tombstone has never closed an episode out. And I'm sure we'll see them close an episode out in the playoffs, but so far, no main events, nothing like that. It's been a very tumultuous year for Ray Billings. Who would have thought that this specific schedule would have given him so much hell? It's such a weird schedule: Shrederator, Mammoth, and Free Shipping. If you give that schedule to like, Witch Doctor, Witch Doctor's going to have its way with that lineup. But Tombstone having a bit of issue here. I think I think Tombstone, though, is probably going to end up winning this fight. We have the exposed wheels on free shipping. I think Gary Jin's going to be driving a bit more lax. He's not going to be as serious about this match since this is a round 3 matchup, and he's already sitting at 0-2. We know that Gary Jin likes to have a bit of fun out there, especially with free shipping specifically with the flamethrower, but it's going to be absolutely bombastic. Free shipping's not going to get knocked out unless it's a wheel situation. I'll tell you that much. But Gary Jin knows if anyone knows how to fight Tombstone, it's Team Plum Crazy and Team Special Delivery here. That being said, I don't think that Gary Jin does have any defensive apparatuses like that. I might be wrong, but I think
he had him he had him in 2019. He had the plow.
Did he?
He used it against Texas Twister in an exhibition match.
I gotta look that up real quick. I also know he used like a skate wrap kind of thing against Hypershock in 2018.
No, but he used if you look up Texas Twister versus free shipping, he used a it's that wedge, but it was orange this time because free shipping's livery. But I mean they probably do have it on hand. It was an exhibition match. It was on TV, so that's probably why you didn't see it. But
oh my God, you're not kidding. Okay, yeah, this changes a lot.
So they did use it.
And the flipper was 180? Or they just keep it upward? So. Oh, no, I see what they were doing.
I mean, they keep it upward. Yeah. They're just trying to kill Texas Twister's spinner, which they did. They won that fight.
They used it more of like a... They flipped the flipper upside down, so instead of a lifter, it was more of like a clamp. Yeah. Double with the lifter. With the... Yeah. That's smart. I mean, hey, you're right. Maybe they could do attach
Gary Jin's a smart guy.
Gary Jin's a really smart guy.
Gary Jin's a smart guy. He could do that, but then, that's why I'm thinking that free shipping might edge us out. I mean, we'll probably see fight photos in the next, probably by the end of today, and if not, if fight airs tomorrow, whatever.
Right.
So we'll see, but I want that free shipping dub because I think if free shipping wins that fight, they could get a low seed in the round of 32.
Yeah, for sure. I think so as well. Because they've had a very spirited performance against Blacksmith and Uppercut. Could end up facing a whole group of robots, excuse me, that make the playoffs here. It's really going to come down to Tombstone's durability. Because now I've seen that setup, I do think that's probably going to be what we use. In fact, I'll be thoroughly surprised if they don't. Especially being a round 3 matchup here. But I do have to say it's going to have to come down to if Tombstone can knock itself out again, because if that one goes to the judges, it's Battlebots. They're going to give that to Tombstone any day.
Tombstone's going to win the decision, yeah.
It's going to get the 4-1 for damage and then the 1 and 2 for aggression, which is going to be all it needs to get it.
Although, if free shipping breaks the spinner early enough on, which they could do.
That's true. That's true. That's what Shrederator did.
Yeah, like if they break the spinner early on, and then Tombstone can't control that fight. There's no shot. Like Black Dragon versus Tombstone. Black Dragon didn't really do any damage, but they killed Tombstone's spinner within the first minute, and then the rest of the fight they just pushed him around and bullied him. And free shipping could definitely do that.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna have to see. This is definitely one of my most anticipated fights this year.
Yeah,
which has not been a good thing. Years. It's not been a good thing because every time I've said that, it's been like Hydra versus Endgame, Uppercut versus Gigabyte, and Gigabyte versus Captain Shrederator, which all kind of snooze it up. So hopefully we don't have that here. I have trouble seeing that, though, especially with a bot like free shipping, one of the best bout machines in robot combat, period. But we're just going to have to see. Fight number 5 has usually been quite a treat lately, so I'm looking forward to it as we now jump to I think we're going to have a good bit of debate for this one. Fight number 6. And now, as we move on to our 6th fight here, this is going to be a bit beefy. I know you like P1. I know you're a big P1 head, just like me, just like the rest of TCC. But it's P1 versus Ribot here. I guess before we get to some trash talk here, let's break down these robots here. It is 2-0 versus 2-0. Someone's going to go undefeated here. And a lot of people have debated that these robots have had some fairly weak schedules, so 2 of the weaker schedules out of the whole field. So someone's going to get a bit justified going there at 3-0. Someone might have a bit of trouble getting at 2-1 again. I don't think P1's going to have that trouble with the Valkyrie win personally, but I do worry about Ribot a little bit. Wins over Defender and Overhaul, not too hot, while P1 did get wins over Jaeger and Valkyrie, a couple of spinning robots. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this ends up, though. We'll probably end up seeing both in the playoffs, most likely. Hopefully, we don't see any 2-1s get snubbed. I think it's ridiculous when they snub the robots with winning records. But I digress. It is P1 versus Ribot. 2 robots coming from colleges, 2 robots coming from the East Coast. Clemson University versus WPI. I bet we see the vertical spinner Ribot here. Actually, they had that one picture. Do you remember what setup they were running?
I wanna say they were running the vert. I don't see why they would run. Running the undercutter against
That would be
P1
silly.
would be a terrible.
Look what happened to Knee Cutter and Valkyrie, or whatever that one, Toe Cutter. That's what the mini bot for was named.
They're not gonna run the horizontal. I don't think. I think it's gonna be the vert all the way with this one.
Yeah, they've been killing undercutters the whole way. They'd have to be using the vert. It'd be silly not to, especially when you look at P1's performances against bots like Copperhead, you know. And I feel like they did face a vert in 2019, but it might be incorrect. But I digress. What are your thoughts on this one? I have a feeling you have a clear pick.
Well, I mean P1. I love P1 to death. It's a great robot.
You, man.
One day I will get a part from it, and everything will be great. Maybe I'll get a part from this fight if they put them up. But P1.
Get a matching wheel.
Robot. Yeah, get a matching wheel.
It could be wheel
P1,
boys.
You're a lovely robot. You're gonna make the bracket. I mean, you can't really make an argument for your schedule being weak because you beat Valkyrie. Right. P1's looking good, looking like a stack. But Ribot's gonna tear P1 to shreds. Ribot's gonna take out P1, and they're gonna make the round of 32 with a high seed, like top 5 seed. First round KO, round of 16 KO, round of 8 KO. They're gonna go all the way. Ribot's taking out everyone. They're gonna take out Black Dragon
until they meet Sub-Zero.
They're gonna take out Sub-Zero. They're gonna take out everyone, and Sub-Zero's not even gonna make the.
What? No. Look, we gotta record our little episode breakdown whenever we finish all these, and I'll get to my points then. But I'll tell you what, we still have a chance. No, you don't. But Ribot is gonna wipe the floor with P1, and I mean that peace and love for P1 because they are a wonderful robot. Ribot just is going all the way. It's the best robot in the field. No other robot in the field that looks like a frog, so they're at a disadvantage. And they're gonna win, and Ribot is going to be the first 3-0 bot of the season. This is for the first 3-0 bot of the season, isn't it?
Unless Glitch somehow has an unaired fight and it beats Hydra.
I think we're gonna end up seeing all the fights this year from what one of our American correspondents said. I think all the fights that he still has left to see, which are all the fights that are left in the regular season, would line up perfectly with the amount of episodes left. So
yeah,
we pray that we end up seeing that. There's a bit of a 2-fight dilemma that we have going on here, but I think we're going to save that for a couple weeks ahead. But I digress here. Talking about Ribot versus P1, I think pretty easily that this is going to be the biggest challenge for both of these robots, coming in at 2-0 here so far this season. Ribot, of course, has had a sportsman class schedule, if I can be honest with you. Defender, overhaul, and P1, and I'm not going to slouch P1 here at all. P1, of course, a sportsman champion at that. Funny enough, co-winner of Robot Ruckus 2019, but also a very successful robot. The defensive plow setup has been an absolute wonder for them, but for a fight like this, it's not going to be about the plow. It's going to be about the wedge game. You're taking on Ribot. It has the wedgelets. I know P1 also has a set of wedgelets on its own. And we're going to figure out who wins this fight likely in the first 10 to 20 seconds whenever the ground game ends up being decided. P1, though, does have the fixed wedge, so I do worry a little bit about that. If it gets bent up a little bit, they might be in some big trouble, while Ribot always has the vertical spinner. It sticks out more this year, so it's even more potent than ever. P1 does have a chance to win, but when you're a control bot fighting a spinner like this, you literally have to drive the perfect fight. When we saw them drive a near perfect fight against Valkyrie, and that's what got them the W. But that's a horizontal spinner. It's easier to tank a horizontal spinner than it is a vert. You're getting shot up, you're getting shot down. You might go up into the upper deck. You might send Ribot into the upper deck, but who knows how this one's gonna go. as much as I hate to see this, from an unbiased prediction, I'm of course going P1 all the way. Love the team. Shoutouts to them. I still kind of wonder. I actually wonder if this is from the Ribot fight. You know, that would be very funny if we're talking about the fight and this wheel is right here.
No, it's in one piece, so no, it's not.
Oh, of course, yeah, it's in one piece because it's gonna be a stomp. No, but I'm digressing here. I do think it's gonna probably, I'd say 60-40 in favor for Ribot if we're talking real numbers here. I can joke all day about Ribot's poor schedule. I think it got a stupidly easy schedule. It got the Sub-Zero or Beta schedule this year. I can admit that, but it's still probably one of the 10 best robots in the world, which makes the schedule even sillier.
I agree with that completely.
That's where I stand with it. I think it's going to be a very contested fight. This whole fight card might have a whole bunch of bangers on it. We've had a good few fight cards here lately. Hopefully we can see that trend going. But talking about a fight that, from rumors I've heard at least, might not be a banger. Let's move on to Fight 7 here, our YouTube exclusive. Coming in now this week, our YouTube exclusive, as Brian Nave, Nick Nave, and the whole Logicom team defend the creed of America yet again, as Captain Shrederator has yet another international opponent. We've seen these guys take out Vanquish in the UK. We've seen them take out Death Roll in Australia. Now they're facing an 0-1 Jaeger here. Of course, our first ever Battlebot to ever come from Germany, and the only clusterbot this year. This is a very interesting matchup that could have a chance to be very tactical or very bloody, very one-sided if things end up going poorly here. Of course, Captain Shrederator, the holder of the biggest upset so far this year against Tombstone in Episode 1 in the very first Midway Major, knocked out Tombstone in dramatic fashion, but ended up losing their weapon in that fight. Would end up losing their weapon again, and ended up losing their whole robot in the matchup against Gigabyte in a very underwhelming matchup that disappointed a little bit, but no shame losing the Gigabyte. That's a top-tier robot right there. And now it takes on Jaeger for its third fight, a fight that should give it that go-ahead into the playoffs, but we do know that this German team has had some step backs, some downfalls that they really were out of their control. But they're probably still hungry as ever coming into this fight. Them and the team behind Big Deal, Team Food Fight, working on this robot here. They're not going to go down without a fight. I like Toe Cutter. I like their Sawbot. And I feel like if Captain Shrederator does manage to somehow break down before they can get a knockout here, they can really have a chance to exhibit some control and maybe do a little bit of damage to that spinning shell. What are your thoughts on this one, Pory? This is an odd one.
I don't know what direction to go with this fight, because if it was Shrederator like pounding the crap out of the two multibots and like destroying them, it wouldn't be a bonus fight. Like it would I think this fight is ultimately going to be one of these robots is going to have serious issues working, and I'm worried that robot is Shrederator.
I am too.
And
I feel that's the only way this fight doesn't make TV.
Jaeger was looking good though. Like last fight, like when they fought P1, like they had potential. The spinners spun.
They held their own. They made a fight out of that P1 match. Yeah. It wasn't the most exhilarating, but it was a fight. Both teams had their offense for sure.
Yeah, they both had their moments. The spinners were okay. I don't know. Neither of those spinners really could do much to Shrederator, I think. But it's either going to be like Shrederator gets a really lackluster hit on them and KOs them, or Shrederator doesn't work, I think. So I'm going to have to think on which one I'm going to predict, but who knows?
Yeah, this is a weird one. I think because only way I can see Shrederator not weighing this, even if it does go to the judge's decision, as solid as Jaeger's bots are, they aren't the most damaging. They're more nippy. They're nipping at you doing it, but I just don't see them doing the damage. Full body spinner shells have a reputation of being some really good armor. It's literally 120 pounds of metal just stuck on top of your robot. I don't know if a saw and an undercutter is the bot that really is designed to go in there and do what you need to do to Shrederator. I don't know if that undercutter can reach Shrederator's wheels, or the ground clearance is even there to do that. Even if Shrederator does lose his weapon, I can see it potentially acting like a hockey puck, just bouncing robots around, a bit like Puck from the Robots Live scene, just trying to get some aggression points off that. But surely it has to land at least one hit, and that one hit should be enough to give it some damage points. This is gonna be really weird. It's gonna be a lot like the P1 fight. Jaeger's gonna have to drive a perfect fight in this. It's gonna have to be a lot of holding, a slowed down, crippled, weaponless Shrederator into a corner, into the wall with the control bot, peppering it with little hammer saw strikes, then having Toe Cutter come in and try to do some scratching, try to throw some sparks around, impress the judges, prop them up on the upper deck, prop them up in front of the judges. Just do what you can, because it's going to take a lot of wearing away at Shrederator in a fight like this, even without a weapon. And now it's time to talk about our main event. You see it right here, and if you've been watching the TCC10 for the past 7-8 weeks now, you have noticed that one robot has been sitting on the very top of that TCC10 since the very beginning of that list when we started doing it, and that has been SawBlaze, who has just had such a good strength of schedule, dominated Minotaur, knocked out Mad Catter. But recently, in the past few weeks, a robot who has been sitting very pretty at number 2, and not leaving that spot either, and that has been Endgame, the defending Battlebots champion. Ever since it got that knockout win against Witch Doctor, really bounced back, showed some damage potential, showed some great drive, something it really didn't show in the Hydra fight. People are starting to buy into it again. They're starting to see, oh yeah, it's still Endgame, the Endgame we've always known, the Endgame that's a defending robot champion. Arguably the best robot in the world right now, unless Byteforce decides to say otherwise. They're finally meeting ahead here. It's TCC10's number 1 and number 2. I feel like the whole list is built up to this. Jameson Go and Jack Barker. USA and New Zealand here. SawBlaze versus Endgame. Like I said, both robots 2-0 with some of the best strength of schedules out of the entire competition. This is probably going to end up deciding the very top seed of the entire playoff competition. So a lot weighing on the line here. Both these guys already playoff locked, so these guys are just going to go at it and rip each other apart so they can try to get that 32 seed opponent. It's going to be absolutely insane, absolute bedlam. What are your thoughts on this, Pory?
Yeah, this is definitely a fight for the 1 seed. I think the winner of this gets the 1 seed, no question. It's gonna be a fun fight. I think it's gonna be intense. It could really go either way, but I think that robot you're holding is the one I'm gonna go for.
I think so too, man.
SawBlaze is so well driven, and Endgame's well driven too. But like SawBlaze, like Jameson goes at like he's on a whole other plane of driving. Like he
hasn't missed a step this year.
Yeah, he's it's amazing, and I think that'll happen again with Endgame. I think that Endgame will probably have some good moments, but I mean, it'll be a fun fight. I mean, SawBlaze beat Endgame before, although the decision was questionable, I guess you could say. But
yeah, I thought Endgame won that fight. I thought we saw.
I had SawBlaze, but not by much.
Yeah, it was I definitely thought Endgame won that fight, and I even rewatched it because from one of my sources, when they told me this fight was going to happen a few months back, I was like, oh boy, here we go. And I rewatched that fight, and yeah, I still definitely think Endgame won that fight. But I digress. SawBlaze was such a different robot back then, and quite frankly, Endgame was too. With the amount of glow up, and they were both really good then. Now where they are at now, the glow up that they've had since then, somehow making themselves even better than their 2018 versions. It's insane, but yeah, I gotta go Jameson Go, gotta go SawBlaze here. And it's all about the wedge game, it's all about the fork game. We saw Endgame really try to exploit, really try to be a little bit ridiculous with their lengthy forks in their first fight against Hydra. Ended up biting them in the ass. A robot that has been running long forks for pretty much since 2019 with no issue at all has been SawBlaze. These guys have pretty much mastered it. They have the 3 or 4 nice, long, chunky forks there at the front. And unless you've been like a Witch Doctor or Tantrum didn't even really bend up the forks. They just got outplayed in that fight. If you're Witch Doctor, who they beat in the past since, SawBlaze is some of the best. And I guess Uppercut as well. But SawBlaze's ground game is damn near impeccable. The stuff they've been able to do this year. I had them as the Battlebots. I had them as my legitimate pick to win Battlebots last year, and I had it as Hydra this year before the season. They still have a shot to win it all. They're Hydra, they're Team Waiachi, but as it stands right now, I really do believe that the winner of this fight you have to look at this robot and say, who's going to beat this one? Who's going to beat this? And I got to say it's SawBlaze. You know, SawBlaze might have a bit of issue against some compact robots later in the season, but then again, they also absolutely took it to Minotaur in the opening fight of the season, so maybe they overcame that demon. We'll have to see what happens if they fight a bot like Fusion or Copperhead or Tantrum again in a potential rematch. But Endgame never really sold to me as a champion. They came out of Battlebots 2020. I mean, they sold to me as a champion. They are undeniably the 2020 Battlebots champion. They are undeniably our defending champion. But they came out 2020 with a loss. And I feel like that's always something that doesn't... You know, Bite Force never came out of his championship seasons with a loss. Nor did Tombstone.
Yeah.
Endgame did. Endgame lost to Bloodsport. I kind of wish we had Endgame versus Bloodsport in the regular season. But I digress. Talking about what we have here, this is still going to be a very good rematch. It's going to be absolutely bombastic, and we might even see some lead changes in this fight. Might even see the upper deck get involved. I do have to go with SawBlaze here, though, myself. I think that Jameson Go is just the better overall driver. I think SawBlaze is the more athletic bot. I think it has less worry when it comes to gyroscopic forces. I think it has the ground game more honed in. The wedgelets is better. You don't see SawBlaze get caught up on the kill saw slots a lot like you do with Endgame and a few of other robots. It might go to the judge's decisions. That's how good both these robots are, but who knows? This is going to end up deciding a lot. Both these robots are still going to come out of this as championship contenders, 100%, but only one can be the top seed in this championship tournament. And that'll wrap things up for us here for another Battlebots prediction episode series. Very interesting fight card like we ran through here. Gigabyte versus Smee. Captain Shrederator versus Jaeger. Two really weird opponents for the full body spinners. And on top of that, like we've been talking about pretty much the whole episode here, the TCC10 number 1 and TCC10 number 2 and SawBlaze and Endgame meeting up for that number 1 seed in the playoffs. That's going to be bombastic. Malice versus Blacksmith, also going to be absolutely insane. Same with Tombstone versus Free Shipping and P1 versus Ribot. A bit of host-on-host rivalry there with P1 versus Ribot. That's going to be really exciting, and overall, it looks like it's going to be a really solid card. As we start to wrap things up here, heading out here now, I'm, of course, SterlingBrown. You can find me online at SterlingTXTG at Instagram, and in future projects, hopefully in podcasts and vlogs throughout 2022. And PoryNog, of course, you can, as always, find him on his YouTube page, www.dippyegg.xyz. Those links for both of us will be in the description below. And as always, hope you're having a good one. It's another week of Battlebots predictions. We'll see what we get right. We'll see what we get wrong in our breakdown next week. Stay good, and we will see you next time.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.